Morning. Welcome everybody to TCU's Rock Annual event. Want to thank everybody for making it out today and coming with hopefully a lot of questions for trying to prevent fraud and protecting yourself. Today we're going to have three panelists here who are going to help us. These are all experts in their own field for fraud prevention. They're going to go through, they're going to introduce themselves, kind of introduce what their specialty is, and then after that, we'll kind of introduce you to how the format for the event will run and keep going forward from there. So first off, we got Dustin Bitts.
Hi, I'm Dustin. I've been with the credit union over 24 years, served as a teller, a loan officer, a manager, and now kind of newly in a different position now of financial education. So my goal at the credit union is to basically make sure our staff is aware of products and services that we have, but also helping with any other types of education that comes up, including fraud, scams. I get the opportunity to go into a lot of the high schools and teach on a regular basis. So get a chance to hopefully help some of those youngsters too, as far as learning the ins and outs of what to look for. A couple other things that I've done, I've overseen some lenders. So I've seen on the lending side, I've seen on the teller side. So just lots of different experiences that I've seen. My specialty is probably with scams. I've seen a lot of different scams over my time here. And it's probably just because I've been here so long. But the one thing that we're going to talk about a little bit today is the amount that it's just really starting to snowball. And ever since COVID, it seems like it's really spiking. So hopefully we'll answer some questions and help to protect yourself like Will said.
Next we have Courtney.
My name is Courtney. I'm the member services supervisor at our South Dance location. I've been on the member service side for 8 years now with about a year worth of lending. My specialty is going to be check fraud and credit card fraud that you see on your basic accounts. So.
And last but certainly not least, we have the fabulous Carlin.
Thank you. I'm Carlin Ferris. I am the Director of Member Services. I've been at the credit union for about 8.5 years. I spent a majority of that time in our contact center, which is our call center here at the credit union. So if you called in, had a question on your account, maybe have some fraud yourself, you probably spoke with me or someone on my team. I did that for about 5 years. I also have some teller line experience, supervisor experience. I too have seen my share of fraud on various levels with members' accounts. So I'm kind of bringing the digital online expertise to the
Those are our three panelists. How the event's going to work is that each one of them is going to give a few examples of the types of frauds that they've dealt with and resolved because they're experts. And during those times, you'll have chances to ask any questions, if there's any relevance to it that you're just curious about. And then we'll go over that and keep going forward. At the end of this event, we're going to allow an extra 30 minutes for any extra personal questions that you might want to ask any of our individual panelists here. And then after that, the event will conclude. So to get it started off, Dustin, if you want to take the role with one of your examples.
Yeah, so one of the examples I recently came across was more of a shopping scam. And I'm sure everybody's heard of like Bizman Online or Marketplace or anything like that. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of is we're seeing a lot of scams happening on those sites. What is happening is the latest one that I've seen is where there were some members that actually were selling an item on Facebook Marketplace. And so what they did is they posted their item. They did get reached out by an individual asking to purchase the item. They said they lived out in a different city. And so they were going to have to try to work out how to get the item. So long story short, they worked out a deal, came up with a solid price. The gentleman or the scamster basically said, I'll send you a check, but I'm going to send you some extra if you could go ahead and send some money off to the person that's going to ship it or pick it up for me. So what had happened was they sent about, I think it was $300 or $400 extra in this check. And then the members went and sent a money order off to pay for the shipping or paying for the gentleman that was going to pick up the item. And in the end, the check bounced that they had originally done. And this guy said he was in Wahpeton, but I think he was in some other state. So that was kind of one of the ones that I've seen. But I've seen a lot of other things where people are falsely putting items out on and using different people's addresses to sell items. And so I've heard of where somebody showed up to some gal's house and actually was there to pick up some furniture that they supposedly bought, paid for with Venmo or, some of those peer-to-peer payments, they sent their money off already. Now they're just here to pick up their items and the gal at the door is like, I didn't even have anything for sale. And so I've seen that too. So shopper scams is definitely one that we're seeing kind of an uptick, especially right now. I mean, a lot of people are selling items like boats and campers and that kind of stuff. It seems like summertime brings out the people posting ads. So those are a couple of kind of the really look out for. What I always say is cash is king. I would never take Venmo or something like that. If I was selling an item on Bizman, I would say I need to have cash in hand. I need you to come in person, hand me the cash, then I'll give you the item. That's what I've done in the past. So that's one of my examples. So.
Courtney, do you have one?
This, an example, I see it every day now. And I feel like everyone has had an issue with this, it's gonna be a credit card and debit card scams. And so it's super basic, most of it's going to come from, fraudulent websites or putting your information out on funky websites. I think the biggest ones that I see are gonna be those targeted ads you see on social media and different websites that you're going into. Usually they're, as it says, targeted towards use of something, you've looked up in the past or something that they've picked up on from past Google searches, that kind of draw you in and purchase it. And well, that website is typically fraud. You either they pull your credit card information or you just don't even get the products that you purchased. So you kind of want to watch out for to make sure you're not putting your credit card information out on something that might be a little bit unsure of.
And just want to throw that out there. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any general questions after one of these examples. I know with Dustin's in particular, is there any way that we can try to prevent that sort of scam from happening? I know you said cash is king, so that's one way, but there has to be something else that's going to make us feel a bit more comfortable trying to purchase things online, because that's where the world is going at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've seen an uptick in online shopping, and so a lot of people are going online to purchase items these days. It's just more convenient. It's nice. I mean, if you go, I don't know if you guys shop at Amazon, I think my wife's on it daily, buying stuff, but, they make it so easy. They make it so easy, but the problem is, like Courtney had said, these Facebook ones, and I have a good example of this where my wife and I were looking at purchasing some, I think it was Christmas sweaters, kind of a weird item, but we're looking at matching Christmas sweaters for, ugly Christmas day or whatever, Christmas sweater day at work. And, she started clicking around and all of a sudden you're getting to all these different sites. And it's just like, wait a second, are these true or not? She ended up going to a site. We got the actual items, but we got them in February. She ordered them in November. So I could have sworn, I thought it was gonna be a scam. We kind of waited, and all of a sudden we get this package in the mail, we open it up, and there's where they came from, who knows what country. So, but anyways, we almost fell for it. Another example is this happened to me about 5 years ago, and I was actually working on updating my garage or something, and I was buying some decor for its posters. And I ended up kind of clicking around, and all of a sudden I get to a website to order them. I went ahead and purchased the items, and then what happened is I never got a confirmation email, nothing. I never got anything. So that was kind of weird to me. So then I tried going to that site the next day to see if I could find it. It was gone. And I was out of money. So again, there's those different websites out there. You have to be very careful. My suggestion, especially with online shopping, is go to ones you trust. Go to ones that you're very trustworthy of. Amazon is a very good one. They have a lot of security features built in. Even some of your other big retailers like a Target you feel safer using those. You go to one that's not very familiar, I probably try to stay away from that. So go to ones that you're just familiar with. Yes.
What do you think about eBay?
Personally, I don't know if I trust it or not, because I've seen some eBay fraud. It's just, you just have to be very, very careful. I guess it depends. It's if you can get in touch with that person, you get that confidence. But I mean, with all the stuff I see, I guess I don't trust it. So I try to say it myself. It's just personal.
I've had a couple of people pay attention to, the location in which the item is being sold at. So, there's a lot of places, like a lot of items that are being sold, stuff like that. So being aware of where that item is being located, is located at. Another thing some people have recommended is making sure, like seeing if the seller accepts returns. I think that's a big red flag too, if the seller isn't accepting returns. If something were to happen and they are willing to, return their money.
So on eBay as a seller, you're probably getting ratings if you sold multiple things. So maybe just doing that little bit of research, do they have a good reputation? Do they have any negative comments or reviews? Is it a brand new seller and they have no history? That could be another red flag. Maybe find another item. But just kind of doing that research. And that research aspect really goes for any website that you're probably looking to make a purchase on. Making sure that it is a reputable website. When you go online and you type in that web address, there are security features that you can make sure that it's a secure website even before you even get to the checkout process. So making sure the website starts with HTTPS. The S on the end means secure. Pretty simple. So if there's no S, probably not a secure website. And if it is that HTTPS website, it's secure. So that means anything you put in there, any data that's going back and forth, is going to be encrypted. So that does keep your information, your identity, your card number, your address, all that even more secure. And then
Where is that located? HTTP?
yeah, so right in the top of your internet bar where you type in the website, so eBay, for example, www.ebay.com. Once that page loads, you should see that HTTPS was added in front of that. If you don't see it, there might be even just a little icon, like a padlock is a common one, where you can hover or click to make sure that it's popping up this website is secure. And then an additional thing that you can look for too is the website privacy policy. Usually it's gonna maybe pop up with the cookie settings, if you've seen those types of, do you want to accept cookies? Here's our policy. Here's how we might use your information. Here's how your information is secure on our site. So those types of things are more common popping up. So don't just click past it.
Most of the time, should you accept cookies?
Yeah, it's actually going to make your browsing session more efficient.
Thought of one other one, Will, too. Another one that I've seen a common thing, and I just use my dad as an example, but if you're going to be doing a lot of online shopping, sometimes setting up a separate, smaller credit card limit, or a smaller one that you just use for online shopping. That way it's not tied to your other accounts. For example, my dad used one for his online prescriptions. He got a small credit card limit or whatever, separate account, and basically just used it just for that. Just in case, it's floating around online out there, at least you're limiting the amount of stuff that you can use. So that's another.
Thanks, Sharon. We'll try and verbalize the question from the audience before we go ahead with the answer.
All right. And Carlin, I don't know if you had shared your example.
No, we kind of
Your
got off on a good
broadcast.
tangent there.
Yeah.
So the types of scams and fraud that I'm really common or familiar with are, text fraud situations where you receive a text message that says, you must reply yes if this is your purchase. They might even throw in your card number, the last four of your card number anyway, making it really look like a legitimate text trying to verify your purchase. Maybe they're posing as a fraud alert system, something like that. Basically what happens from there that I've seen is even if you don't reply to the text message you get, the scam is that they follow up with a phone call. And they may even pose as Capital Credit Union fraud department. We have seen some of that. Other institutions deal with this as well. It's becoming more and more common. So you got that weird text message, maybe you didn't click on it, maybe you didn't respond at all, you just looked at it, put it away. But now you're getting a phone call from Capital Credit Union, fraud department saying, was this your transaction on card ending in 1234? And you might say, well, no, I haven't been using my card. And they just carry on the conversation in a very, normal manner. But what their ultimate goal is to get you to provide them any verification codes that they may need to further compromise your account. So they may say, Joanne, I just texted you a 4-digit code. Can I get that from you so I can further assist you on your account? You're looking at your text, you're like, I did just get a 4-digit code. It is 7892. From there, you've probably given them enough information to get either into your online banking and even get into some of the payment options within online banking. So if you're ever encountering a situation where you receive the text, you're not sure if that's legit or not, even if it says it's from Capital Credit Union, best thing you can do is pick up the phone, call the local Capital Credit Union number. We all have it memorized, right? And talk to someone in our call center here locally. We're going to be able to verify, yes, you did block your card. It was for a strange Amazon transaction. And we can see all that history. The thing that we've noticed though, is that the fraudsters call you so quickly, pretending to be the credit union, they're trying to help, that you don't really have time to react and say, I'm not sure if this is right, I need to call the credit union. It all happens so quickly. So that is becoming more and more common. I would just, throw that caution flag out there. If it's not sitting well with you and they're asking for codes and things like that, we're not going to need any sort of verification tools like that to assist you, locally here at the credit union with your account. So the only thing that we may ask if you're calling locally is, do you have a verbal password on the account? Right? That's another layer of security that you can add that a lot of members like to take advantage of. So that's just becoming more and more common. So trying to educate everyone about this type of situation.
Verbal password, is that the one like in the local teller window?
Yeah, yeah.
Hard to remember.
Yeah.
And if you, don't have a verbal password on your account that you've set up, we may even refer to your mother's maiden name, even though that is something that can more easily be found nowadays. If you don't have a password set up, you may ask for that.
I ordered a jacket last November from Amazon. And it was, the seller was an alphanumeric thing, supposedly shipped from Canada. I ordered it like November. I got it in January. And I said, this is not a winter coat for North Dakota. It's more like a spring jacket for Florida. I sent it back, and now I just got an email. They want to send me PayPal as a refund. I have no clue what PayPal is.
So PayPal is just another one of those funds transfer services that are out there. So the big ones are like Venmo, Zelle, PayPal is getting up there too. And if you don't have a PayPal account and that's what they're offering, I would ask if they can send you, a check in your name. Or can they possibly refund it to the card you made the purchase? Most reputable sources would be able to offer various refunds.
Now, would it be wise for me to contact or call Amazon and say this alphanumeric vendor refuses an American money refund, but insists on PayPal, which I have nothing to do with, so that Amazon is aware of this alphanumeric?
If you're having troubles with the seller on Amazon, there are ways to report the issues that you're having. So you can either, go to the Amazon app, find that purchase that you made, and basically leave a review and feedback for that seller. Or if you're more comfortable calling or chatting in with Amazon customer service. Amazon is really great to work with anything that didn't go smoothly with your order, so.
You talked about PayPal. Just a couple of days ago, I got a message. Anyway, it said the PayPal transaction. They want to know if that is really yours. You know, and it gave me a number that we were supposed to contact. I just deleted it.
Well, they said if you
Perfect.
don't, then it's may charge to your,
But I don't have an account.
Delete.
So,
yeah. that's what it
You
is.
So I
knew
just
that it was
deleted
not-
it.
Exactly.
But then he got a call,
we don't know if that's.
he got a call last night. And we didn't answer because it wasn't.
Okay.
And he just didn't answer it, and then he got. So I'm guessing that might.
Definitely sounds like.
That's not the first time that we just ignored that kind of. Nothing has ever come.
And, with those attempts at fraud, so you're getting that email asking to verify a purchase, you're getting a text asking to verify that purchase. If for some reason they do have your correct, last four of your card and maybe reference that, feel free to reach out to the credit union and we can verify. There is no transaction going through for 700 for PayPal, and we can just give you that peace of mind. But you did absolutely correct me. Delete the email, you know that you don't have an account with them, delete it, ignore the call from a weird number. You could even block the number that they text you from is another thing you could do. Not perfect, they could text them another number, but bravo, you guys did great.
Well, at the end of the year, when my boss comes to, I must get 3 or 4 companies saying that they're gonna charge me.
Mhm.
It's before it's even due. So I know.
Exactly.
So would you say that's a good thing to look out for if anything comes unexpected or out of a different time frame? If it's a subscription or anything like that, that's kind of the red flags.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny, well, I was listening in, I pulled up my email and I have about 5 PayPal messages in my email right now. And then I have shipping pending for a few different things. Norton is in there. Yeah, so all those things, delete. I mean, if you don't have anything with them, I always say delete. One of the things that when I teach in the high school, and a lot, of course, all the kids have smartphones, they just do. But they always say when I tell them, don't answer the phone, if you don't know who it is, don't pick it up. But then I'll get some of these kids that'll go like, well, I like to talk to them and just kind of play with them a little bit. And I'm like, don't even do that. Because you know what? Those guys are smarter than you and they're gonna figure out a way to get you to say something you shouldn't. So I say, if you don't know who it is and you're not expecting that call, if it's important enough, they will get a hold of you somehow. So again, I always say, if you see a call that's not, and the nice thing about a lot of the providers now are saying spam risk when you get those phone calls and stuff like that. But I have seen a lot where they're spoofing local numbers and a lot where it looks like a local number. Usually what I do is I'll let it go. I'll Google the number and then Google will come up with spam risk, all that different kind of stuff on it. So again, if it's important enough, they'll figure out a way to get it.
How do you Google?
I just go out on my phone. I just
I
once
know, but I mean, you Google, what do you?
I put the phone number in. I just take the phone number and Google the phone number. And usually it'll give me some hits on it.
That's in the Google search bar?
Yeah, just the Google search bar.
Phone
Yeah,
number. Just the
simple number.
Just put the
Yeah,
number.
because I do the same thing like anytime I get a phone call. Because for example, the latest one I think I Googled was, I had a phone number come up on my phone. It was a 701 number. I didn't know who it was, so I let it go. I Googled it and it was Brendel Lawn Sprinkling. And so I think, oh, that's right. I had scheduled some service to my lawns, for my yard. Then I knew it was okay. I called them back. So that's just what I always do. The nice way to protect yourself is to search the number.
I have the smartphone figured out a screening service, because a lot of these are 701 numbers, which are real deceptive. That's North Dakota. No, it isn't. So I do a screen call, and it comes up, this phone is being answered by Google. Okay, service. Figures it's important, they'll leave a message. Boy, do they hang up quick. Wow. I mean, it's 5 words out, and they have hung up. And I normally just block that number, but that was tricky.
Yeah.
They hang up right away, it's spam. I love that. That's one of the coolest things on it.
That's one of the things I wish Apple had instead of things like right now, I don't have like anything instead. My sister's lucky that she's got a Google Pixel and Bruce does the same thing. It's like, come on, Apple, get the program.
Yeah. Aren't there apps that you can get that would stream through? I don't know.
Well, there are, but the reviews on it or whatever, when I've been reading, are not very good, so.
Question in the back.
Can you explain fishing and how do you get on a fishing, how do you end up being fished? Or how do you prevent being fished?
The question is, what is fishing and how do I prevent from being on the fishing list?
You guys want me to take that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We also have a question online, so throwing that out there. I'll answer your question here. Phishing is just an attempt to get you to click on something that is going to lead to a compromise, a scam. You're putting yourself into a fraud situation. So typically, there's all these bad people in the world who have resources that they can use to collect bits and pieces of your information to ultimately collect enough of a profile to target you and say, I'm going to send you this email, you must click the link or this is going to happen. And if you click the link, really you're opening your device, yourself up to all sorts of horrible things. Identity theft, your device could be completely compromised. They can see all the contents of your browsing history, your banking history, any documents you have stored on your computer. So phishing is just the tip of the iceberg. That's how they make it sound scary to get you to click so that you put yourself in that compromising position. How do you get yourself off the list is probably the question, right? Make sure that you're visiting websites where you're securing your information. If you feel like you maybe have had some bad experiences, maybe been on some questionable websites in the past, I would suggest, creating a new email address so that when you visit a new website, you're creating kind of that new profile for yourself. Because if you're using an email address for every website and one of those becomes compromised, it could ultimately leak back. That makes sense? Okay. So, if you've had one email address for a very, very long time, it may be a good idea to create a new email address and use that for things like your banking, your utility bills, your phone bill, things that are legitimate and relevant and important. And if you're going and, looking at the deals on Lowe's or Kohl's website, maybe use a different, right, to get those promotions. Yeah. There are also resources through the North Dakota Attorney General's website to protect yourself as a consumer. So we were actually just talking about this week, preparing for this meeting. The Attorney General's website has a long list of resources for you as a consumer, including freezes on your credit report. You can put security levels on your credit reporting. You can put yourself on that do not call list, which might help with some of the spammy phone calls for you guys. And I think the greatest thing about that is they compile it all in one place, and it's a .gov website, so you know that it's legitimate. If you're clicking on something there or there's a phone number posted, you can be sure that you're getting to a good place. This is the truth. It's a legitimate resource. So, did I answer your
That's for the sort of fraud division of the victim.
Yep, so North Dakota Attorney General's website. Once you land on that page, there are banners across the top. The second one in is consumer resources. You click into there, there's, probably more than a dozen things you can click on from there, depending on what you're looking for. So lots of resources.
Couple other good ones, just to kind of add a couple things. Federal Trade Commission to their website. There's tons of stuff on fraud prevention, and stats and everything like that. So you can find a lot of stuff out there. Other one I went to a lot is AARP. They have tons of information on fraud prevention, protecting you from scams. I actually signed up for their newsletter, so I get a weekly or a daily email from them, but it'll tell me kind of what's the latest scam, what are they seeing, that kind of stuff too. So that's kind of helpful too. So
those emails that you're getting, with those links, another thing, I do this with everything, if you just hover over the link website, it'll tell you what that email, it'll say, if it's one email, one link and it's got one website address, if you hover over it and it's a completely different website address. So, hovering over that website address, they can tell you.
I don't do that. Hovering over what website?
Yeah.
In the email that you received, that's telling you, click a link. To do whatever, if you just hover your mouse over that, it'll usually pop up the entire web address.
So if you're getting an email from Target and you're hovering over that, like for example, and it's trying to take you to XYZ period, question mark, exclamation mark, you're probably not gonna get to Target's website from that link.
To make it happen show up as a legitimate website, but not be the actual. That's part of the city. How do you win?
All you can do is trying to educate yourself and be, aware and more cautious, try and look for those immediate red flags and identify some of the.
So for those of us who aren't experts, what are the early signs that we can try to prevent that? Is there anything that we should look out for in particular? Certain credit card charge or certain email? What do you guys think?
it's a tough one. Because, I think anything that looks out of the ordinary, I think being overcautious, I always say. One of the things I always say, just monitor your accounts closely. That's the best thing you can do. I've got teenagers in my house, and I tell them, get on their, check out their account access all the time. They're always, it's so easy with technology today, and mobile apps are so nice because you can't look at everything and keep track of everything. If you see anything that looks out of the ordinary, how trivial it might be, an authorized zero, sometimes there'll be like a charge on there that's just pending, but it's $0. Anything like that that just looks weird. Again, call us and so we can take a look at it. It's so easy right now. If you guys haven't gotten one of our instant issue cards, if you have fraud in your account or you think you're going to have fraud, close that one down. We can get you a new one and walk out of here the same thing. So, it's that easy. And that's why we have them. Because there is so much fraud out there.
Yeah, I had my account closed a couple times. You guys are on the stick. I don't know what it was. But it was really cool. Yeah, I got a new card right away. And I went someplace and thought, my card didn't work. But then I have all kinds of money. You change that up.
The other thing you can do too on some apps and Capital's webs or mobile app, but also on different financials too, is they usually have like card controls. And so if you want to, for example, let's give you one, my daughter who is 18 misplaced her debit card, could not find it. And I said, okay, well, let's look for it. Let's go to the app. Let's shut it down for now. You can go right out to the mobile app and, basically put a block on the card. And I said, well, let's look at it. If we don't find it by Monday or whatever, we can just get you a new card. Well, she ended up finding it fell between the seats in her car. She found it on Saturday, went back to the mobile app, unlocked the card, she's good to go. So
What mobile app would that be? Where would you find it?
it's just right on the Capital Credit Unions.
Oh,
Yeah, online banking. It's as simple as just clicking on your card. And I can show you afterwards if you'd like.
I get one.
Sounds good.
What's the
Sometimes
password?
easier just to show you.
Yeah, thank you.
I know I kind of put in a plug for, maybe using a different email if you've had one for a long time. I'm just gonna put that out there for passwords as well. Please don't use the same password for everything you log into. I know how difficult it is, the number of passwords that we have. Thinking of myself, even here at work, the number of passwords I have is crazy. And then I have my own personal passwords for everything. So I hear you. Passwords are tough. We have too many of them. But please, please, please make sure you have unique passwords for the different things you log into. That way, if someone does discover, your password for your, Walmart ordering account, they're not gonna also discover that the same password you use for Walmart to order your groceries is the same password you use for the credit union to get into your online banking. Okay, so
So I have like a password protected.
So-
I have that to put
So a password protected email list on your computer.
a
So,
password list.
okay. So you have like a Word document with all your passwords saved on your computer.
Yeah.
An Excel, okay? And you have a unique password to get into that document that would be completely different than anything else. I think that's okay, may not be the best, but I also am not a fan of having a notebook
Great.
laying around with all of our
Yeah.
passwords in it too. So it's great that you have it
Why I
password
went to
protected. Yep, I think that is it. If you did put yourself in a position where someone sent you a link and you clicked on it and it's, your Norton, for example, their tech support had to access your computer to help you with your Norton account. They could ultimately access that Excel document just by watching you do a few things on your computer. There's ways for them to see your keystrokes, even though they're not there in person.
North.
And, if you're getting tech support from someone who's remoting into your computer, that's a common one.
Norton has,
I don't.
because they actually have a place. I have used it.
And, change your passwords frequently is another, a good way to prevent fraud as well. So not only using unique passwords, but making sure that you change them. And not just changing, the exclamation to a dollar sign, but actually changing the whole thing. So. but Think you're more aware of that.
Suppose another one would be not to name the file passwords. That would be
Yeah.
another thing too. So if you have a Word document on your computer and you have it called password, it's probably not a good idea. If you name it something else like grocery list.
Encrypt it yourself, yeah.
Do we have any questions on that one?
Is there an online question there?
No, there is not. That one was an old one.
Okay.
So do we have any more examples? I know we shared one across the board, so.
Maybe just some of the other ones that I've seen, and I brought my list of different scams. Like I've said, I've seen a lot of them. It's kind of funny when I get a chance to go and talk to kids about some of these things, and it's interesting to see their eyes just light up when they see how much people have lost. But romance scams, that's a big one. We see a lot of that. Recently, I just actually helped a gal that fell for a romance scam, and we ended up having the police in my office and getting the scammer. He actually called her while we were in my office. And so we had him on speakerphone with the two officers in there, and we weren't there. We weren't there, and we just listened in. But wow, he was smooth. He was so good. But he convinced her to, basically cash a check that was fraudulent. It was actually a forged check from somebody out in Minnesota. And she put it into her account, and then she came in and withdrew out $7,000, wrapped it in a t-shirt and sent it to FedEx. And we tried to capture it from FedEx. We were unable to do that. In the end, on Monday, I believe this was on Friday, late Friday, on the Monday, she got another call from the scamster again, the supposedly fiance, and all it was a laughing on the other end, and they hung. So And this wasn't a matter of a week. I think she lost, about $7,000. So again, be very, very careful with some of those things. So the romance scams, the sweepstakes scams are another one. If you get something in the mail saying you won a lottery or won a sweepstakes, anytime they're asking for any money back, it's fraud. There's a lot of that. I've seen a lot with also targeting high school kids with false jobs, basically trying to target them for a summer job opportunity of some kind or doing some type of secret shopper scam. I've seen some of that. I know I tell the story all the time in my classes, but I had a young kid that was 15, 16-year-old that fell for a secret shopper scam. He got an email and basically hiring him to do a job, and he went out to basically go to Best Buy to rate his service of this, and they had sent him a check to go buy some gift cards. He scratched off the pins on the back and sent pictures of these gift cards back to the scamsters. It cost $5,000 in a matter of a few days. And then I had an angry mom come into my office. We tried to sort it out, but again, he fell for it. And he was, 15, 16 years old. Found out later that his sister, that was about 18, helped him with it. Because I was they're trying to figure out how would a 15, 16-year-old even know what to do. Well, the 18-year-old was kind of coaching him and saying, well, yeah, you just put this money in your account and then you go, never asking mom for help or anything. And that's what they should have done. So some of those things that we're seeing a lot of.
That kind of ties back into the monitoring of the accounts, especially if you have children or grandchildren or anything like that. Linked to your accounts is still monitor and look at the type of transactions they're having as well. If you're
I've all
depositing that large of a check, that's the red flag right there.
I've got a lot of kids to look after, so I have them all connected to mine, so I can see their activity, so I can see what they're doing on a regular basis. They probably don't like it, but you know what? I'm helping them because I know my one daughter, as soon as she has a paycheck, it's gone. So I'm watching where her money's going and helping her with that, but also watching for any unusual activities. So in case we do need to lock something down, we can. So again, the key is to catch it quickly. I mean, if you can catch that quickly. The other thing that, there's 0% liability on credit and debit cards that would be stuff. So I mean, it's one of those things where, if you get a fraudulent charge on your account, you come in, you file a dispute with Courtney or whoever, and you try to get you your money back. The thing is, who takes the loss on those funds? We give you the money back, but who's actually eating the funds? Us, the financial institution, no matter if it's Capital or what other financial you're with. But in the end, who pays for it? We do. Yeah, as consumers, it affects everybody. I just pulled a report from yesterday, and it was an Experian report, which is one of the credit agencies, $8.8 billion in fraud loss last year. $8.8 billion. And that's what was reported. So there's some that's not even reported. So there's big money out there that these people are getting. So it's scary. It's scary to kind of think about it. Yeah, monitoring is the best way, keeping up on things and don't take it for granted if you see something weird.
Yeah, it's always, like Dustin said earlier, to be over cautious. So if anything, if you have any kind of gut feeling, bringing it to the attention of someone at your financial, on the teller line, the call center. We go through trainings like this all the time, so we know what to see, so really just, if you have any questions, bringing it to people, bringing it to the attention as soon as possible, that way, again, catch it quickly, so.
And the hard part is too, is we can't catch everything. We do our best to train but there's so many different scams and frauds out there, and we have a lot of staff, a lot of branches, and trying to make sure that they're keeping up on all that. But again, some squeaks through. So if we're asking questions or asking a question, if you're bringing in a check to us or something like that, we're just doing it for protection, because we just want to make sure that it is legit and that you're not taking a chance of losing funds.
Last April 1st, 2022, I got a call on my cell phone, 202 number, and then it said FBI was the ID to that number. So I answered it, and is this Lynn? And I said, yes. And did you and your father and your grandfather go to the same high school? Yes, it was all of us, but yeah. is your 9-digit social security number, and they gave me my social. And they knew where my mother was born. And her birthday, my father's birthday. Do you have property in Texas? Did you live in Florida? They knew all this stuff about me, and it even it scared the crap out of me, because I mean, you folks have my social. Social Security has my social, my employer has my social. That's it. And on a job application or whatever, I will not put my whole 9 digits unless I am actively employed. So, well, because you lived in Texas, there is a $2 million bounty on your head because you dealt drugs in Central America. So if you don't want to get arrested, and we have undercovers outside your house, and they gave me my address, you will go to the bank and you will take this cash that you have, and you're going to go to Cashwise down on Expressway. And I'm thinking, this does not sound good, but okay, we'll play the game. So I went to the North Branch, and on the back of one of your deposit slips, I wrote 911 to Warren, fraud online. And I showed the kid my first or second day he was a teller. I showed him on my phone that there was a call from the FBI, and I passed him the note. So fortunately, the teller typed a message in the computer to Warren and said, come, Lord, or whatever. So Warren came out, and I've known Warren for a bunch of years. And I said, hey kid, how you doing? Well, that's not how I address Warren. And then I held up the piece of paper to him. And he said, by the way, how's your cats doing? How are your cats doing? He knows I don't have cats. And I said, well, one's kind of sick. And I kept pointing to the fraud. And so I took the money out of my account, and they told me, okay, you've just drained your savings. Now go pull the money out of your checking. So I pulled all the cash out, and I started to head towards Cashwise. Since they had my card VIN number, I figured he probably is tracing where I'm driving. He knew all the stuff about me. That really scared the crap out of me. So I'm going down 7th Street, and I just went into a total panic attack. I did not know Warren had followed me. And I gave him the cash. He put it in a different account over the weekend, and then Monday they put it back into my account, but a different account number. Every last penny was in my account. And the interest that would have been lost in my savings account, you folks even gave me penny for penny for that. But thank God for Lauren. And here Cashwise was in on it.
I think that's kind of a common thing at this point, is their main goal is to isolate you and make you feel like no one else can help you and give you that extra pressure. That kind of common thing that we see in a lot of
It's a
fraud and
scare
scam
tactic, yeah.
Scare tactic. They
we
don't want
had
you to
this-
talk to anybody.
Yeah, when we had that, that romance scam that I spoke of, the guy on the other end was basically coaching her on saying, don't listen to your bank, don't listen to your bank, don't listen to anybody else.
Well, I know Lauren, I'm not gonna give all my money to somebody on the phone. And then I went to the police department and filed a report. They even called me on the police phone number. They had somehow gotten their number, and I said, And it was April 1st, and I said, if you're working for the government, this has gotta be an April Fool's joke because the government is a joke. I take that personally, and this is not a joke. And with a Mexican accent, and then about 2, 3 days later, the city police called me back and said, we caught one of the 2 men, he's getting light. But he didn't catch both of them, he only caught the one. They didn't catch the coach, it was just the second in command, but they got him. It's scary,
It is.
because they had my 9-digit social, where I own property, where I live, my car's VIN number, and the fact that I went to the same school as my father and grandfather. And that's not in North Dakota. That scared me. And the fact that they knew where my condo was in Texas. I mean, they did some deep diving.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first tactic. Scare you, put the pressure on you, make you feel isolated.
I mean, I can account for every aspirin I've ever taken. Let alone to do drugs.
Courtney, did you have another example for us of some fraud? That was an excellent example, by the way. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so another one I see a lot is gonna be, a lot of check scams, you know. It kind of goes back to the shopper scams that Dustin, briefly spoke of. You know, they send you a check with a letter in the mail saying the sweepstakes, or, you know, a big one that we see is car decals, like asking you to, you know, put this check in your account to get a car decal to do some advertising. They send you too much. They'll tell you that, oh, sorry, can you please send it back? So then you're sending money, well, then that check ends up bouncing as well. So now you're out the check as well as what you sent them back to reimburse for them. So that's another big one is, you know, those check scams. A big thing, if you're receiving a check that you didn't expect, red flag. And then, you know, most of those letters you receive are gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of little red flags. We have spelling errors, stuff like that as well. But I think the biggest thing to look out for, you know, is did you expect it? Is it something you were coming for? Did you just receive a check out of, you know,
Just to go off of what Courtney's saying about the check fraud. So their goal is to get you to deposit the check in hopes that you have some funds available so you can turn around and send them the money. So us here at the credit union, what we're trying to do is we may ask you, where did this check come from? What are you expecting? Can you tell us about the letter? Maybe you bring the letter in and you're showing it to us. We're gonna try and investigate and do our due diligence. We may place a hold on your check. That may be something that you have not experienced, you know. By placing a hold on the funds, that means that we're accepting the deposit, but we're not gonna make these funds available in your account to you right away. We're gonna let this sit for 5 days, 10 days. I mean, we can go all the way up to 30 days if the situation warrants that kind of hold. In that time frame that the check is on hold, you know, that check is being processed, it's going through the clearing process on the back end, trying to hit that financial and collect the money to prove that it's a good check. Most of the time, if it is one of these scam situations, that check is going to be bad. It's going to be returned within that time frame that we've held the funds. And what that means in the end for you is that you didn't lose any money. You deposited a check, we held it, so nothing was available. Now it's gone through the claim process, it's come back bad, and we just remove that from the account. You haven't actually lost anything as long as you didn't use your own existing money to, you know, send the movers $300 or, you know, fall into the other side. Just to educate you on that.
A lot of them tell you to, again, avoid talking to people. So they'll tell you to either mobile deposit it or deposit it through an ATM. We do have automatic holds that get placed on checks like that, when you go through those processes. But they're going to avoid bringing it to the attention of anyone, because they know that, you know, those frontline staff are trained on those things, and they're going to ask questions, and they're gonna tell you to go the route in which you're going to avoid bullies. You're gonna avoid that interaction.
So another common thing, isolation, scare tactics, make it so you're not sharing that same information with your bank. Like the whole panel said, we're trained to look out for these types of things. If you're ever feeling uncomfortable about a check, again, unexpected money, even if it's expected, but it's the wrong dollar amount, that's typically the red flag to look out for. Charlie, I know you probably have a billion examples of a time when you saved somebody from taking out one of those checks, and then they were probably thankful, you know, that you didn't let them take that $1,000 that they didn't have available.
Yeah, you know, my call center experience is that, okay, Courtney has seen this check on the teller line, she had a suspicion about it, she places the hold. Now, the member who experienced that hold at the teller line is calling in, right, and saying that I need that money available. Okay, so now my job is kind of a little bit more difficult because I'm not in front of you, I don't know, you know, are you being forced? Is there someone else on the other end? Is someone texting you? Is someone emailing you? So we're not trying to punish anybody for depositing a check and placing it on a hold. It truly is for security and trying to protect your funds, and just kind of vet these situations that may be a little iffy, questionable. But the number of times that I've gotten calls, you know, saying, can you make this money available? I need it now. Okay, I'm gonna need a little bit more to the story. I'm probably gonna call out to Courtney. I may need to see the check. I may try and call the phone number on the check to verify, is this good? Is it legitimate? So lots of investigating and research on the back end to try and save you from ever experiencing any type of loss on your account. For sure.
Any last questions for us?
I'll get big one. Well, like, is there any way to report these scams and stuff? Because I know like a lot of times on Facebook and stuff, and whether they just tell me, you know, like, hey, you know, thank you for your feedback or whatever, you know, this helps us to improve Facebook or whatever. And it just 9 times out of 10, it doesn't go like beyond that or whatever. And then other times, you know, when I'm reporting on, you know, like on Facebook or whatever, you know, it comes back to me or whatever, and you know, something like, hey, you know, this doesn't go against like human standards, and you know, like this, you know, maybe upset me, there's other things you can do, and it's like, I don't like these guys, I just want these guys out. And so, yeah, it's very frustrating for me and stuff, because I can't tell you, like, I don't even know how many scams I've reported on Facebook, it's probably hundreds now.
Yeah, so, you know, reporting a scam on Facebook, you're definitely taking the right steps already, you know, clicking on that easy link that they provide you. An additional step that you could take is, if they're selling something, you could report them to the Better Business Bureau, so that they have that negative rating, that negative reputation. And then kind of going back to, you know, Dustin is the end result of all those bad ratings and things with his phone number Google search example, because people have taken those steps to make those reports and say, I had a bad experience, or I didn't get my product from so-and-so, you know, his Google search then on that phone number tells him, I should probably just not do business, or if I'm searching that sponsored ad, you know, that company name, what's their reputation, you know? So definitely keep reporting them, even though maybe it seems like a dead end. I'm certain that somewhere on the back end it's doing good for others. And then probably the Better Business Bureau would be another avenue. Do you guys have any other thoughts on?
Nope, that's
reporting?
exactly what I would do too. I mean, if you ever have specific where you feel like your identity's been stolen, there's ways to report that, of course, to protect yourself and freeze your credit, like, so that's more specific. You have it.
I feel like debit card and, you know, check fraud, a big one. Police, North Dakota attorneys and all stuff. And start that as well.
hard part is it's really hard for I know I have a lot of friends at the police station and that I've dealt with, and, you know, a lot of times it's really hard to catch these guys. They really struggle with it because I dealt with a situation, I'm looking at one here that a gal got a check for $240,000. It ended up being a romance scam ring. And I dealt with a detective out in New Jersey, and he said the one gal out there lost several $1,000s, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he said it's just so big that he turned it over to somebody else. So there's just a lot of it going on, and a lot of times they're getting like multiple people involved. But yeah, you can report it to police, it can help, but a lot of times if they're in some other state, it's really hard to catch.
Curiosity, just occasionally I've gone online and looked at working at home. It looks a lot of this. Legit, I mean, it's quite curious. Done anything with it.
You just like work at a home job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm suspicious old hands on it. Yeah, nobody's gonna pay you $50. I'm good.
Where those are
Won't
too
take on
good to
that
be true
good.
type of thing,
Yeah. Can you verify, how would you verify something like that? Like what you said on,
You could do that or try to get a hold of the company, pick up the phone.
curious.
Yeah, I guess some of those things just seem, yeah, too good.
But they are.
Yeah. I think that kind of ties in back to everything is
Yeah.
secure site, reputable, do your research. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is Google search it, look it up, ask around,
That's what, right.
you know, ask a friend, ask somebody that you trust. Don't isolate yourself with the information.
And if you were looking for an opportunity like work from home, I would even go so far as using a hiring site like Indeed, where they are posting legitimate job opportunities and kind of filtering down to that level of, I would like a remote position. Versus clicking on, something you scrolled past, on social media, or maybe got an email for, hey, we're hiring.
Yeah, this is one that's pretty serious.
Just like you're starting to shop for a new pair of shoes, and then all of a sudden you've got shoe ads all over the place. Yeah, we love that.
Well, if no one has any other questions, that's gonna conclude our event. The panel's gonna stay here for another 30 minutes or so. So if you have any personal questions, personal examples you wanna share with them, feel free. Again, just wanna thank everybody for making it out this morning. A little rainy out, but at least it's cooled off a bit. Thank you for trusting us and helping us help you protect yourselves.
Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure you get a donut or a second donut.
Too many, I think.
Nope, now I'm good. You see those online and no?
Yes, yes.
Go on the website.
Check out.
See if there's no other ones.